Jackson again jumps in with a jab, but it's taken on the gloves by Frampton. Frampton is teeing off now, goes to the body with a right hand, then a right uppercut. Jackson back to the ropes on the far side of the ring. The towel comes in, and simultaneously the referee, Terry O'Connor, waves his arms. It's all over in the 9th round. Carl Frampton steps up onto the second rope, just above us here at ringside, punches the air. A famous Belfast night, and a fantastic performance by Carl Frampton.
There is the very brilliant Mike Costello, who was alongside Andy Lee for BBC 5 Live at Windsor Park. That was Carl Frampton in the 9th. Towel thrown in, a very comfortable win for Frampton on what was a very busy night in Belfast. And you were there in the rain, Andy.
I was there just under the cover.
Do you just get in under the cover? You just sneak in?
Some drops on the back, but it was grand. But they were handing out free ponchos, and I eventually got one of them. Got my hands on one.
It almost, from a TV perspective, I mean, I don't envy the crowd, but from a TV perspective, the rain almost added to the sense of drama.
It was real kind of theatre to the whole night, with Wilder being there and Fury playing out to the crowd, and it was a real dramatic night.
Felt like a full house? Looked like a full house?
Yeah. I'd say there were only a couple of empty seats in the place. And it was a great atmosphere. It's probably a unique atmosphere in boxing. I know Hatton used to sell out the MEN Arena, and they would blow the roof off there, but Frampton crowd in Belfast it's pretty, it's a pretty special experience that you can have, to watch, sit there and watch it and listen and feel it.
Yeah. Feel free to say, no, there's no real difference here, and we'll actually move on because we've loads to talk about it. But now that you mention it, is there a difference in the atmospheres that different crowds in different parts of even Ireland and the UK and maybe beyond the US crowd that they create, in a football match?
Yeah, there is. Sometimes it's aggressive. I found some of the fights in England that I've been at, there's a bit of an edge or a bit of an aggressive edge to the atmosphere. Maybe if there's a rivalry between the two fighters, it kind of feeds into the fans. I would describe the Belfast, the Frampton one, that they're just behind their man so much. And there's a passion just to support him and will him to win. And that's quite a nice positive thing, for them. And probably not so nice if you're in the other corner, but very nice. And I've seen it. I've always remembered the fights in Dublin. There was always a smart, if the fights, if nothing really happened, there'd be one or two smart remarks made, and there'd be a few laughters around the crowd. So it was always kind of you kind of had to be on your game in Dublin, because they'd let you know if you were just messing around, or if they didn't appreciate you, if they didn't like you, they'd let you know, get out of the ring now.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah, hurry on and get this fella out of the ring. Right. And it's similar in New York. I always found they want to see fights. They're not paying their money to go there and see two guys dilly-dally around.
That typical New York patience.
Yeah, the lack of it.
Yeah. So Frampton, then we might as well start with him. That you were alongside Costello for that fight, and the others. I was watching on BT. I mean, David Hayes said it was the best he had seen Frampton, which was a big statement. He seemed to dominate. Frampton had said before the fight that Luke Jackson is decent, but frankly, I'm world class, and that was not a bad summation of what ultimately transpired.
Yeah, Jackson was actually better than I anticipated. I thought, this was a huge. It wasn't a step up. It was a leap in class for Jackson from what he had been fighting in Australia, and Frampton's been mixing with the best in the world for the last number of years. And that was kind of apparent, but Jackson actually held his own for a lot of the rounds and kept Frampton honest, And I don't know I think Frampton was the bigger man, and you could see when they were exchanging that it was always Jackson that was being backed up, that Frampton always had the edge, and that he probably felt that there wasn't a real threat there from Jackson, and so he allowed Jackson. I don't know if he allowed him purposely, but Jackson was able to land some clean shots on Frampton at times, and it kind of made the fight a little bit closer than it should have been.
So you think if Frampton sensed danger, Jackson?
Yeah, he would have picked his game up and just would have outboxed him. But there was times when he chose to fight and push him forward and just bullied him, and that's kind of what made the difference in the end, because he kind of broke him down methodically and systematically, and it was a lovely punch to end the fight with body shot, and. It didn't actually end the fight. He actually went back to his corner, which I was surprised. Billy Hussein, he's Jackson's coach, he said, I could hear it in the corner. He said, it was a great shot. I've had enough. It was a great shot. And Billy Husseini's coach said to him, "No, go out on your shield, brother. Go out on your shield," and sent him back out for another round. And he was stopped within 30 or 40 seconds. They were throwing the towel in. Like, it was just a senseless call by a coach who, to me, I'd like to know if he ever fought himself or was ever taken a body shot himself, because you don't put a man out like that. When a fighter signaled that he's had enough, that's enough,
I would have thought, don't make a fighter ask twice.
I know, yeah. Well, fighters are generally proud men, and Jackson strikes me as like, in a way, stereotypical Aussie guy, tough and proud, and he came in talking a good fight, and he fought a good fight. And for him to say, "Look, I've had enough," that should be enough for any coach to say, "Right, call this off."
It's amazing to get that perspective, because on the television coverage, David Hay and the commentary team were at pains to talk about how brilliant it was that the corner had stopped the fight. They were saying there was a fantastic job at the corner. They judged this perfectly.
I was actually listening into the corner on my mic, and I was, I'd watched the guy. I studied Jackson's fights, and he'd been coached by another fighter. Coached by another trainer up to a certain point. But this Billy Hussein had stepped in the last few fights, and he seemed like a guy who was very aware that the cameras were on him, and that he was almost putting on a show, that it was almost more about him and what he was saying and what he was doing. And I don't know. Nobody likes a brave coach.
I would suggest that the coaches who have fought before are far quicker to wrap things up.
Yeah.
Based on what you're saying, based on the fact that you say, I wonder.
Well,
if
once you see that, because you got, if you're a former fighter, you know what it is for a fighter, for a boxer to say, well, he has to go through in his mind mentally to come to the realization that, look, I've had enough, and then to actually verbalise it. It's
emasculating. It's pretty shameful. In some ways. It's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah, and all you want, you shouldn't have to ever say it. Your coach would probably see it before then, so he should have been taken out of should always be taken out of the fighter's hand. And then he's kind of the fighter gets an out, because he can say, well, my coach stopped me, I wanted to continue, and he saves his pride. And that's kind of what happened in the end, It kind of what happened in the end, just that I managed to hear him say that comment, and I thought, that's not the way to go as a coach.
Not best practice, It's sort of what you're talking there about the coach ending the fight on the fighter's behalf. It's the equivalent of the football manager defending his players publicly in the press conference and then privately maybe attacking them. There is a saving face process.
There's a way to do it, and you got to save the fighter sometimes from himself, because
could be too brave.
Yeah, they want to go out and they want to keep fighting. So that's the coach's job, to protect their fighters.
Interesting. Is Frampton evolving much under new coaches?
He's certainly. I think the left hook to the body, which was a great punch from all night. I'm not sure if I saw too much of that with Shane McGuigan or in his past. Maybe it's something they've worked on. I know I was speaking to Adam Booth, and he's pointed out that his left hook to the body looks really good and improved. But Frampton, I'm not sure if he's changing. It looks like he's a continuation of what he was doing.
Is there an element where someone that good at that level, really there's only so much you can add on?
And what do you need to change about him? Really too much. He's only had one defeat, that's to Leo Santa Cruz, and to me it wasn't about he lost to a better fighter, because he'd beaten him already, just that the tactics weren't right. And so if he can get that, and
he's more regarded as a good tactician.
It's yet to be. He's still a young coach. He's had some great success in his young career. He's recently just won a world title with Rocky Field, and he's got Martin Murray boxing very well. And but it's yet to be seen, but he's so far he hasn't really set a foot wrong,
We saw Josh Warrington in the ring afterwards. And he said some pretty nice things about Frampton to a point, and Frampton said some nice things about Warrington. So certainly war of words didn't break out, certainly at that point. I mean, maybe it will, who knows, when they're selling the fight. And Frank Warren's beaming, and it's on is the word, the phrase that Warren screams to Windsor. So it's on, and it's on this year, it's happening. What's Warrington going to bring to the table here?
Just to stop you, it's on, and the posters are out, and the publicity's out, but I'm not sure if there's a contract signed. I don't know. I have any inside information, but
yes, you do.
I think it was a bit.
Yes, you do.
I think it was a bit. I heard
you have all the inside information.
I heard that Frampton was saying, "Look, it still needs to be talked about, and there still needs to be contract signed."
So is that money? Is that like
probably? Yeah. Well, where's the fight going to be? They've talked like. That might be the end. Like that might be the last time Frampton fights in Belfast. So it's either going to be the MEN in Manchester, but like Warrington's he's got a cult following just like Frampton, and he sells out Ellen Road.
Yeah.
So they'll need a huge arena, and if it's going to be before the end of the year, you wouldn't see an outdoor football stadium fight in the winter. It would kind of be disastrous.
Cardiff?
Maybe, yeah, with the roof closed.
What would Cardiff hold with the roof closed? 80, 90 more?
Yeah, when you consider that they can put seats on the pitch, it could be more.
Way more, yeah.
Yeah.
Would they do 100,000? They wouldn't. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's like last man out in Belfast to turn off the lights kind of thing.
Like Anthony Joshua did sell out Cardiff.
What does Manchester hold?
I think it's about it's got to be 15 to 18,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't quite meet demand.
Well, maybe like when
selling out Ellen
when
Road.
he fought when Frampton fought Quigg, that's where they fought, and it was packed to the rafters. But it's a great fight, and Warrington is an improving fighter. He showed another side to his game when he beat Lee Selby, a fight which he wasn't really. Might have been the underdog. I fancy Selby to beat him, but he's a fresher, younger fighter, and he took his chance. And Frampton will have to be. He's had a good comeback fight against Doheny, and he beat Jackson, but he'll have to step up his game slightly to. And I think he will. I think it was just fighting to the level, fighting. Lowering his standard a little bit to the level of his opponent.
It's sloppy, maybe. It can happen. So, what kind of fight is it going to be with him and Warrington?
Depends. Warrington is an aggressive, generally is a super fit, aggressive, kind of fresh, hungry fighter. But in his last fight, he actually boxed a bit and kind of surprised Selby and used his jab and got his tactics spot on and kind of rushed in and raided at times. Frampton at his best is a counterpuncher, and he likes his opponents come to him. But what I've seen with him now, if I can go back to what you asked me earlier, what I can see, the change that he has, that he's a lot more comfortable being aggressive and going forward. He kind of got into a pattern towards the end of his time with Wiggins, where he was counterpunching exclusively, and that's all Santa Cruz did was step off him and use the jab. And he wasn't aggressive because in the first fight Santa Cruz was aggressive, and then he didn't follow the same pattern in the second fight, and it kind of threw Frampton off. But now he seems a lot more comfortable with being aggressive and going forward and really bullying guys.
So he can take it both ways.
So so in one sense he's become more of a an all-rounded three-dimensional fighter. So we'll see. If Warrington chooses to be aggressive, I can see Frampton outboxing him and hurting him. But I can see Warrington choosing to box, and then Frampton will have to mix it and pick his times when to go forward, and then counterpunch when he gets his chances.
Paddy Barnes we saw fighting as well against Christopher Rosales. It was a world title fight. Barnes was giving up quite a bit here. He was giving up, I think, 8 years in age. He was giving up weight, height, reach, and obviously it's only his 6th professional fight. It was a body shot in the 4th, and it seems Barnes landed more punches, maybe in the grand tradition of an amateur, but actually Rosales had more power.
Is a very good champion, and he's a much improved fighter over the last few years. He lost previously to Kalia Fight, the Birmingham-based fighter who's world champion, no shame in that. That was early in both of their careers. And he lost to Andrew Selby, brother of Lee Selby, who's also a very good fighter, highly decorated amateur as well. But in the last couple of fights, he's really improved. He went to Japan and won the title in Japan. And I could see it was going to be a tough fight for Paddy, but he did really well. He might have lost the first round, but to me, he won the second and third round. And he was going on to win the 4th round before that punch landed. And so, in some ways, it was a big step up for him, but he showed he can take a lot from the defeat because he showed he kind of belongs in that class because he was really mixing it with Rosales, and there was nothing between them. A body punch like that will stop anybody, and you can never account for it. There's not really much you can do. He landed a really good left hook himself at the time of the punch, which almost doubled the impact of him receiving the body shot.
Yeah, he's open.
And it was just one of those things that you can't account for.
Because we were talking yesterday, and the point was made that there's not a huge amount in that weight division in the middle. You're making quite a leap up from what Paddy would have fought in his first 5 fights to the Rosales level. So it's actually, you're going to feel that jump, especially when it's just your 6th professional fight. It's a thin enough division in that sense.
Well, tough for Paddy because he's been an amateur for so long and has a short transition into the professional game. But he showed he belonged in there. That's one thing I would say, and he can hold his head high because he fought a really good champion and one guy who I think will go on to prove how good he is in his forthcoming fights.
So that defeat will age quite well as well.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And I think for Paddy it will be a case of trying to get back in the ring as soon as he can, rebuild his confidence, and try to get back to that level as soon as he can.
And you think that's doable?
Yeah, I think it's doable. I think he's maybe come back, have one win against a good fighter, got a good level of opponent, just maybe below world level, then go again. You know, there's talk of a fight with him and Charlie Edwards, who's another flyweight from England, and that would be a really good fight. And the winner of that then go on to fight a world title. Charlie Edwards has fought for a world title himself and lost, so that would be a really good fight.
Okay,
that I would like to see. Good mixed match of styles, two really good amateurs, and now trying to get a break as professionals.
On Saturday, so it was striking. Barnes goes down with that body shot, and Frampton was working the body a lot. It's not like he
almost a similar punches ended both. Well, not ended both fights, but led to the end of the Jackson fight. Yeah.
The art of a body punch. I mean, there's always something so in the audience is like amazing is the wrong word to use, but when a good body shot lands and you see a boxer almost wince and just like crumple. The brain seems to say that, but something in the brain or the body says, this is over, you're done. And maybe us on the outside who've never taken one of those don't understand just how bad it is, I think.
When someone gets knocked out from a head punch,
I get that.
It's a lot more, it's a lot more apparent what's happened, and
it looks sore. You're like,
the funny thing is, it's not sore at all. The guy who's been knocked out doesn't even know it's happened, and the next thing he's just waking up, and you don't usually feel it, you don't see it. The punch that'll knock you out, you don't see.
Yeah.
But the body punch is one you feel every inch of, and it's like excruciating agony, and it's only maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and once that time passes, you're up and you're completely fine, and you're walking around and you're chatting like away, but just for that short period of time, it's like you're in the world of pain. And
is it the same as being winded? Like I've been winded playing football, but I wouldn't describe being winded as agony.
No, it's like being winded, but it just, I don't know. It's hard. You can magnify it by 10. I don't know how to describe it.
Winded, kicked in the balls, and punched all in one.
Yeah, maybe. So you just can't move. You can't breathe. It's like your soul has been sucked out of you. You just can't. You can't. It's like your full body and all your muscles are in contraction, and you just can't do now. No, there's nothing you can do. And it's like there's this internal panic of like I can't breathe, and.
So you can't breathe. There is that winded effect.
You can't. You just can't breathe.
So if you've only got 10 seconds, so we've all been winded, and until it comes back and you go.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. Obviously 10 seconds isn't enough time for you to get back up and fight, so you're just done.
Well, it's not like you'd think, and that's the thing, comparing it to a knockout to the head or the chin, is like people just see this. You've just been winning. You're just on the ground. Like just get up. Just like people would say, no matter what pain I was in, I would just get up. But you're just not able to, and
you're not even able to stand up.
No, you can't. No, and Paddy Barnes, you can condition yourself in some ways. I know David Hay was critical of Paddy Barnes, saying you have to train hard and you have to do conditions, and you can condition yourself to a certain extent, but once you take a punch like that in the solar plexus, there's nothing you can do.
I was going to say, because I was reading, I did a quick Google of the best body punchers, and I've seen Golovkin mentioned, I've seen Cotto mentioned. Henry Armstrong gets a few mentions. He's way back when as almost the inventor of the solar plexus.
He would have been 1930s, 1920.
Okay.
He was a great fighter. The first time to win. All at the time, the lightweight, the middleweight, and I don't think he went. No, I think he won 3 championships or 3 divisions. So he's like one of the all-time greats. Actually starred in the movie. He actually starred in the movie of his own life story, which is a funny little thing.
What is it with boxers and ego? And I was reading Mickey Ward as well. Apparently, was brilliant, and there was a piece where it was Manny Ward was in the corner. And throughout the round 9, he implored Mickey Ward to return to the punch that had gotten him there, the punch that he had crumpled Gatti at the beginning in the punch that had crumpled Gatti at the beginning of one of the most iconic rounds in modern boxing, the left hook to the liver. So it's interesting there that Ward he liked hitting the liver, and there's the solar plexus one as well. So how many points in the body would you target?
Those two particularly, just to realize, Barry McGuigan was a great body puncher, left hook to body, and he kind of coined the term the floating rib. So that's what he used to call it. That
the bottom one.
Yeah, I think the one that kind of connects to, the one just on the lats there. And so like when you watch fighters like when the ones you mentioned like Cotto and Mickey Ward especially, they would kind of set it up where they would like from the left, they would like touch the head and bring your hands up, so they would touch the head and go downstairs. And actually Paddy Barnes in his last fight, I think his opponent's name was Cusada. Paddy Barnes actually did the same thing and stopped his opponents, where you just hook upstairs quite soft
with your right hand.
They would have been left-handed.
Okay,
so
hook with the left,
and as they bring their hands up, drop it
with the left again.
With the left again on the same
hand
side,
both times.
At a different pace and with a different pressure. That's kind of a little way to like. A little trick to knock people out is like changing the speed of your punches and changing the pressure of your punches, like the power that's in the punches, because you can get your opponent kind of acclimatized or adjusted to being hit at a certain pace and a certain power, and then when a punch comes at a different power and speed, it kind of has a stunning effect.
So, like, it sounds like a very simple thing. Right hand, you might throw on top of their head, and then they move their hands up, and then right in at the body.
Yeah.
Can you decide last minute? So say you say, well, look, I'm throwing this first one way or another is a dummy punch, effectively. So throw the first one, they move the hands up. They may be anticipating the body shot, so they might then put their hands back down. Can you decide last second to go high or low? Yeah. And that's the art of boxing. Well, sometimes you might have a pre-plan, but sometimes you improvise. And that's what you described as boxing. Thinking ahead and showing your opponent something and getting them used to seeing something and just establishing rhythms in the fight and patterns. And that's boxing, really, Did you prefer taking a solar plexus punch or a liver punch?
I would have took a liver one all day. The solar plexus for me is the hard one. I remember one day I was in the gym, I was sparring George Groves, and we always had very close spars. Right. I was always very competitive, always very respectful and very competitive, and we would go at it and it was one day in whatever round it was, I had hurt him with a right hook to the head. He was coming at me, we were trading, I hurt him with a right hook to the head, and I just stepped off because it was just a spar, and I didn't. I don't know if he was really hurt, but I could see it was a good shot. So I just stepped off and moved around, jabbed around a bit, and the next exchanges two after, we were trading again, and he got me right in the solar plexus, and no one saw it, but I just went. I said, and he just stepped off me, I just went like that, and he just smiled and shook his head at me, and Adam just said, what happened there? And I just said, don't ask, But I never really got them in fights. I stopped a couple of opponents with body shots,
right.
But I was always known for the right hook, but I had a couple for me, as a southpaw, the left uppercut to the body, when they jab from an orthodox stance, it was always good, and it was a punch that Zora Ante used to teach us as amateurs.
So they've jabbed their left.
They've jabbed their left, and you step out to your right and bring your left uppercut straight into the solar plexus. It's a tough one,
yeah. Especially when, as you said, they've pointed.
Yeah,
and they're so open when they throw.
The worst time to ever take a shot, receive a shot, is when you're throwing one yourself.
Yeah, okay. Well, in fairness, that brings a new appreciation to what Paddy Barnes took there. It's no fun.
And you could see him in the interviews. He was devastated emotionally. He was, but physically he was perfectly fine. He could probably fight again tomorrow. It's not like
So it almost bugs you when you get done by a body shot. It's like a sneaky one.
He'll really be annoyed that it happened because he was doing so well in the fight, and who knows how it would have played out going ahead. Rosales is a serious fighter. He's a really good champion.
So more so than a really good knockout to the head, which might take a few minutes to come back from, a body shot, it ends your fight, but then pretty quickly you're almost back to 100%.
Yeah.
So it's the most frustrating way.
Especially one like that where he was doing so well and winning the rounds up to that point. Okay. It was just over like that in an instant.
Tyson Fury then. So Pianeta was his opponent on Saturday, second fight in the return. And I mean, it's kind of weird, really. Deontay Wilder was in Belfast. It's pretty big eyes of the boxing world. We're keeping an eye on this. And I'm seeing Las Vegas, 17th of November. I'm sure you've got other inside information.
No, that's the date that's been put out. I think it's the only day available in Las Vegas at the time. And I think they will be in the Thomas and Mack Centre, not in the casino. So,
is this too soon, is the question?
No, I think... you can leave these fights do have a sell-by date, and that if they fight somebody else, either of them, like, they're kind of, well, not so much Tyson now, he's still on the kind of comeback trail, but Wilder could fight somebody, at his level, who he has to fight and get beat. He had a tough fight in his last fight where he almost did get beat against Luis Ortiz. Showed a lot of character, a lot of guts, and a lot of heart in that fight, and came back and found a way to win, and a lot of mental toughness. And it was a side of Wilder that I had seen before, but not to that extent.
Appreciating that point, could the argument not be made to Wilder, look, keep yourself ticking over, don't do anything silly, don't take any fights. We're going to get Tyson 2 more guys beneath him just to get him up to speed, and then we'll do it next April.
No, why would he? He's been, in a way, he's been smart. He's getting Tyson before he gets back,
I think Wilder's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying, if I'm in Fury's corner, I'm saying to Deontay Wilder, you sit pretty give us a couple of months.
Yeah.
I want to get our guy Fury 2 more fights so he has a chance here.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. But Fury is an unusual and an exceptional character, as we've seen, as you know, good and bad. But he didn't have a lot of activity before the Klitschko fight, and he went in there and made it look easy against Klitschko. And now he's had, what did he have, 5 or 6 rounds earlier on in the year. Now he's had 10 rounds, and he could have finished Pianeta. And there's one, I see a clip where he's actually asked him, well, I go out and finish him, and they say, no, just get the rounds in. It was very smart. I would have liked to seen him finish Pianeta, and I think everybody wanted to see that. But in the long run, in the long game, getting the 10 rounds are actually more valuable.
I read in The Guardian today, if Fury reaches the 5th round against Wilder, it will be a considerable achievement.
Well, to consider what he's come back from, what was he? I don't know what he weighed. Did he weigh 27 stone or something? 27
or 28, yeah.
And to come back and to, within the space of a year a bit more, lose the weight, get down to nearly fighting weight, 18 stone-ish.
What would his best weight have been, I wonder?
I think that's around 18 stone. Yeah, I think that's what he was when he fought Klitschko. But you could see he had a lot more muscle when he fought Klitschko. When you stop training, you lose your muscle, but you gain the fat. So
who are you telling?
I'm not going through it right now. So he needs...
So it's not just about weight?
No, I think the weight suits him. He looks a lot bigger than Wilder, in terms of the thickness of him. He looks broader. Wilder's a big man. There's only an inch between him in height, but he has very skinny legs, and he's very lean. He's a huge puncher. He's got 39 knockouts, Wilder, in 40 fights. Tyson wouldn't be considered a big puncher as a heavyweight, but a man of 18 stone, when he hits you, you'll know about it. So it's an intriguing matchup.
It's difficult, because for me to ask you how do you think it's going to go is difficult, because it's hard for you to predict how sharp Tyson is going to arrive into the ring on the 17th.
He looked quite sharp. And the fighter that he is, the fact that he got 10 rounds, as he went on, he got sharper. His reflexes because he's an instinctual kind of fighter, that he doesn't kind of know what he's doing from moment to moment. He just kind of plays it out and lives in the moment.
But that's what I'm saying to you. Imagine he got 2 more fights in before Wilder. Imagine how sharp he'd be then.
I know, but this is it. This is the chance. And in some way, he's kind of jumping the queue, because all this talking of Joshua and Wilder over the last year, and will they, won't they, and it's going back and it's being played out in the media. Was their contract 50 million offer and all this? They offered, the return offer was like 15 million for Wilder to come to England, and he turned that down, obviously. And now he's kind of making Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua look bad by saying, I'll step up and take this fight. Yeah. 2 fights into my comeback after being out
even Wilder was saying this is the fight that Joshua was ducking and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's going to be great drama, and it was great. It was seeing the two of them in the ring, and there was also a lot of respect between the two of them, which was quite, even though they were kind of shouting off their mouths, but you could see it was kind of tongue in cheek. And so for some reason, Tyson Fury kind of has this ability, call it whatever you will, to kind of, I don't know, intimidate his opponents or lull them into kind of being friends with him. And I'm not sure if that stems from them being intimidated by him. You look at, he fought Chisora, and Chisora was probably the baddest man in boxing at the time. He spit in the face of both the Klitschko brothers, slapped Vitaly at the weigh-in, spit in the face of Vladimir during in the ring, with a bottle of water. And then he comes up against Tyson, and he's quiet as a mouse. Same with David Haye. Same with all these guys who run their mouth. And same with Klitschko in a sense. He kind of put Klitschko in his box as well, Tyson. And now he comes to fighting Wilder, who's been shouting bomb squad all over the place. And now he's shaking Tyson's hand and they're hugging it out. So I don't know.
I think they know deep down, if this gets into shouting match. There's nothing this lad won't say about me. Yeah. I think they know he could go nuclear.
He is a great talker, and they will promote this fight to the heavens.
You know,
it's great to see heavyweights back. You know, heavyweight boxing should be getting this.
Well, I was just going to say, and we just did a quick list of all the fights coming up, even between now and Christmas. I mean, we're going to be dragging you in quite a bit because there's so much going on. So Warrington-Frampton obviously is on the way. We now have this fight with Fury and Wilder. I mean, Alvarez-Golovkin is just amazing, and like that's the one that people are counting down to. Joshua's going to fight again. Groves, Callum Smith. Amir Khan might fight Kell Brook. Like there's plenty of decent nights, entertaining nights between now and Christmas.
Should I put my should I nail my flags to the mast and give you a prediction for each fight?
Okay. I mean, this is ruining the next 4 months of radio where we're building up to this. But let's do it. Let's get your initial thoughts.
I can prove to be the worst pundit in history here. This is really risky. We might have to edit this out of the video.
We're going to play back the next 2 minutes in about 3 months at our Christmas review of the year. We'll see how you go. Okay. First up in September, we have Alvarez against Golovkin, part 2.
Alvarez.
Okay. Joshua's fighting against Alexander Povetkin.
Joshua.
Okay. George Groves, Callum Smith.
Hard to call. Groves. Very hard to call.
Wilder against Fury.
Fury.
Knockout.
Fury points. I'll just give you the winner.
Warrington-Frampton.
Frampton.
Khan against Brook.
If they were to fight, it's not certain that they will fight. I would say Brook.
Okay, and is there talk of Tony Bellew fighting again against?
He's possibly fighting Alexander Usyk, who just won the World Series for cruiserweight, and he's going to step up to heavyweight.
Okay, well, just in case, so imagine you've got all the others right, and this is the last one.
Hard to call.
You started this game.
I know all these guys as well. I'm going to be...
Yeah, that's the thing. This will go viral on Twitter now. They're all going to see it.
Well, it goes viral when I get everyone wrong.
Yeah, okay. We'll let you off that one. You've made enough predictions there. Hey, before we go, TJ Doheny, like we're kind of terrible.
Hopefully get him on the show with TJ if you listen.
Trying to track him down. Yeah. I mean, talk about kind of not giving the guys dues. I mean, we should have started with him really because we haven't talked about him much. So he went over to Tokyo and he's now the IBF World Super Bantamweight Champion. I didn't see the fight, I'm sorry to say. He's a Portlaoise southpaw. Most people don't know this guy. Yeah,
took his chance. I think he went over to Australia working, and just started fighting over there and turned pro. And he's been building himself up, and got himself into a challenging position as #1 challenger.
He's 31.
Yeah. He would have been around the amateurs when I was there, a couple of years younger than me, but I always would have saw him, and he was a very good fighter. He fought I think he fought Frampton as an amateur, David Oliver Joyce, would have been knocking around with those guys.
Okay.
And I was always a really, to describe him as anything, was ballsy. He's a really ballsy kid and always had a bit of go about him.
Okay.
And he was good boxer, technically good. And I always thought a pro side would make, when I heard he turned pro, I said, that's a good move for him because he could do well. He went out there. Nobody expected him to beat the champion, in Japan, even to get a decision. But the judges scored it correctly and gave him the points to win. There were some people have been coming out. I've seen some criticism where they were saying, they didn't think he won the fight, didn't score it for him. But I think they were putting it in the frame of that he was fighting a Japanese fighter in Japan. If you score the fight for what it is, round for round, then he wins the fight and gets the decision. And they did score it that way, which should be highlighted because we're going about boxing and getting the scores wrong so often that they actually got this one right and scored it fairly. And luckily for us, Ireland has a world champion. It's
probably hasn't got the credit he deserves.
No, it's amazing. It's probably the best sport achieved by a single athlete
this year.
Right, to come out of the blue like that and win a world title, there should be a homecoming for him in Portlaoise. I'm not sure what the plans are, but there should be a lot more being done for him.
And have you been trying to get in touch with him?
I was in touch with him, actually in touch with him I got in touch with him before the fight, and then he got in touch with me after saying, Annie, I'm sorry, I hope you don't mean I was ignoring you.
Yeah.
But I totally understand. He said to me, this is all so new to me. I'm not used to it. That's what he said to me in the message. And I said, you better get used to it because a lot more is coming. So we'll hopefully get him on the show maybe in the next few days when he's back in Ireland.
Look forward to watching that, yeah. I mean, and is he coming back to Ireland? Does he live in Australia?
He lives in Australia, so I don't sure, but I'm sure he'd have to come home and celebrate.
Yeah, he deserves it, doesn't he? Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully we'll see him in the next few weeks. Andy, brilliant stuff.
Thanks.